Is our privacy being invaded here in Canada? Do you download songs from Apple's iTunes, use Norton SystemWorks, or watch movies? We've got Jack Kapica on the line. How you doing, Jack?
Hey, just great, Mike. Thank you.
So apparently there's been a report released lately that says that basically a lot of these digital rights management technologies that these companies are using may be violating federal law.
Yeah, it's not a report, or maybe it is a report. I'm not entirely sure, but what it is a quick study by the. Let me see if I can say this. It's a mouthful. Canadian Internet Policy and Public Interest Clinic, which is a group stuck in University of Ottawa, and they follow public interest in the internet and so on. Now, what they're running into, what they've discovered, what they're pointing at with this study really is that American terms of service, or terms of service written by American lawyers for American software, are being shipped up here with very little acknowledgement of Canadian laws. Now, we have a very tough Canadian privacy law called PIPEDA. I'm not even going to try and tell you what that stands for, but nevertheless, in which our private information is considered sacred. Now, what happens is that in many cases, software, let's say you're installing software in your computer, and it wants to know what your right is to have it. Now, you can install a serial number, and it'll accept it or reject it, which is one way of doing it. But a lot of software companies are moving away from that, and they're called web-based authentication, by which point you register some things like your IP address with their central computer. Now, the question is, should they have your IP address? If they do, then they can target you, because there's no guarantee that what they're going to do with that IP address. They might say somewhere in their terms of use agreement that they're not going to give that IP address out, but they don't stipulate that. And PIPEDA says you have to stipulate what it is you're taking and what you're going to do with it.
It's an interesting thing. I just wonder why a lot of these American companies haven't looked at that. I mean, do they care about our laws?
Well, I mean, remember, these guys are, this is the legal department of the various different software companies. And most of these people are not market-oriented, so therefore they don't think in terms of any other country. To a lot of these people, and this is going to sound terrible, but it's true, to a lot of these people, Canada is just an extension of the United States, a country as big as California, or rather a state as big as California, and of course our laws, being the toughest and best in the world, apply to them equally. Well, it's not entirely true. We're quite ahead of them in certain areas, like, for instance, privacy legislation. And I don't think they're really thinking that way. They'd have to hire somebody from Canada to explain the law to them, so that they can sit there and either phrase the end user license agreement properly, or to actually do something in the program that will stop it from violating a whole market, or the laws that govern a whole market for them.
Well, it's interesting because many software companies are using this net-based authentication. I mean, you just look at Microsoft and Windows. You have to have it authenticated through the internet to make sure that your copy is working. This could be a huge thing.
I will assume that you have a computer running Windows.
Yes.
Did you read the license agreement when you installed it?
Oh, I read them all the time, Jack.
Okay, then tell me now what its privacy protections are.
I have no idea. I never read those, and I think what
nobody ever does. That's the whole point.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting to. Was there any recommendations out of this study?
Just that further study be done, because they only took about, I think, a dozen programs and looked at them. Among them, something like Napster, which does an awful lot of sniffing around about what you do and how you behave and what you say. They say they're just protecting themselves against flames on their bulletin boards, but they don't tell you that, and they should, according to Canadian law. And of course, Napster's going to sit back and say, well, we're American, we don't care. Besides, our servers are here, therefore it's governed by American law. And as you know very well, this is one of the big problems of the internet, is like whose laws govern international exchanges on the internet.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens. Obviously, the software is sniffing around our computers. We'll have to see what the Canadian people do about it. Thanks again for joining us, Jack.
Thank you, Mike.
Jack Kapica from the Globe and Mail. You can check out more of his articles at globetechnology.com.